stage, on stage with Jim and Tom. On stage, on stage with Jim and Tom. On stage with Jim and Tom. On stage with Jim and Tom. Tom and Jim.
Tonight we welcome Sonoma County singer-songwriter Bobby Jo Valentine to the stage of the Phoenix Theater. Bobby Jo Valentine is an artist that channels a lot of himself into his music. Tonight we'll learn about the triumphs, the tribulations, the philosophies, and the experiences that have shaped his work, and later he'll play us a collection of songs. Please welcome to the program, Bobby Jo Valentine.
Welcome, hello. Thanks for having me, guys.
I think that we will start with something that you shared with me. It was a summary of yourself in the lead up to tonight. And I think it's good. I think it's a good foundation, and we can kind of branch off from there. It goes as follows. You said, I'm a gay, mystic, hopeful, realist, philosopher, musician. So there's 1,000 different interesting directions our podcast could go.
Yes.
And I agree.
Many paths we can walk.
Many paths we can walk, and we will walk all of them over the next 5 hours.
Great.
So let's start with...
No pressure, Bobby.
For context's sake, I must ask, what is a mystic, and how are you one?
Oh, man. Well, so I grew up in a very conservative Christian world. I grew up independent fundamental Baptist, not too far away from here, actually. There's a place called Berean Baptist Church, and they have big blue buses, and they go pick everybody up. And I went from kindergarten through 12th grade in their private school. So it was a super insulated world I was in that world for 23 years of my life, went to Bible college, got my pastoral theology degree, so I can, marry people and do funerals and start a church if I wanted to. But the more that I started living life and experiencing it, I started thinking that maybe there was something bigger going on here than what my current small faith experience was in that Baptist world. So I just kept reading and I kept listening, and music in particular was the one that kind of opened the world up for me. And so I still have really deep held beliefs, but they're a lot gentler now. And I would say that the biggest difference is that I approach life as a student. And when I was growing up, everyone was a teacher. Everyone had the answers in this Baptist world and was very They acted confident. I would say behind closed doors, they had the insecurities. All of us do, because they were humans, and the good qualities too. And everything. But they had those insecurities, but very confident up front. And now I'm just I don't know. I think it's going to work out in the end, and I think we're going to be okay. And I think there's something more going on here. So I'm always reading up and exploring all sorts of different faith systems and belief systems, and just celebrating good stuff where I find it. But now it can be found anywhere. And that's what a mystic does, is it celebrates kind of the good things of the world, however they land, and doesn't try to put a label or a quantity on it, either atheistic or in a particular religious setting. Yeah.
So then we'll talk more about the kind of tough stuff that related to the upbringing a little later. But obviously there was good to be found in that world. And because a lot of the time, especially, growing up and having, homosexuality is a tough thing in the church. And so there's a lot of criticism of the church and of faith in general. I feel like our whole generation, because we're about the same age, especially in this area, pretty turned off by religion because of that. But your reaction has instead been to try to find the good in it and try to move forward with that. Would you say that's a good summary? Yeah,
a friend I really like says that you have to. There is a moment. All of us have a deconstruction moment in our life, a deconstruction moment, where the rules that we grew up with don't work. And some of the lessons we learned as kids were wrong, and we have to unlearn those lessons. So we have that moment. But I would say that our generation in particular, is really good at the deconstruction and throwing all the furniture out of the house, not as good at putting the furniture back in. So part of me coming back into any sort of belief about the world has to do with now I get to do some world building now and figure out what I want to create with the life in front of me.
You address that in a couple of your tunes, actually, and I think you talk about the loss of faith in one tune in particular, and it's a pretty poignant piece. And that was when I first got the inkling that I'm talking with a man of faith here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's being able to honestly talk about what you've lost is really important before you can talk about anything you found.
Important to note, Tom, a man of faith.
Yeah.
So interesting, because you would look at the biographical details for both of you, and I think honestly, I think that people would think like, well, those aren't guys that celebrate faith, just because there's this caricature of what faith is, and obviously you two both know that the way it's advertised is not what it is for you.
Oh yeah, the political spectrum right now is insane, and right now the people that get most of the headlines are they're the ones that are kind of exposing a lot of fear and a lot of anger and a lot of defiance in our world right now, and a lot of separation, a lot of divisiveness coming in the name of faith. And but then I would travel the world, and I play at a lot of like wonderful churches that are gay friendly, that are excited and delighted to do justice in their community, that are really committed to the healing of the community, and they would drop any robe, label, or name in a heartbeat to go help someone in need.
You reference hope in another tune, and how
me.
important that is. And in the end, how can I have hope if I can't dream? If I don't dream about flying, how come I don't have any hope when in fact I do? And faith gives you that chance to fly every day, even at the darkest times. There is something you can have faith in, and there is some way that you can fly.
You usually don't come to a deep faith unless you've had a great sadness or great loss in your life. And usually it's in that moment you get to experience this idea that maybe there's something greater going on. Because I know in the deepest losses of my life, I've felt held in a strange way, felt like we're still going to be okay here. And I think that the key to when you have that depth of faith, you can see a good thing and just celebrate it for what it is.
Absolutely.
And there's a Celtic hymn that I love that turns things on its head, that says, if love is God of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? And I love that idea of, that a lot of Christians are like, God is love, but that it keeps that kind of God, which has all this baggage at it, at the front. And the hymn turns it on its head and says, if love is God, how can I keep from singing? And I think that's the biggest thing you can believe in right there. So
yeah.
Were you ever similar to the generation you described, in that you, at a certain point, were more of a deconstructor without rebuilding?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. When I was 23, I'd, so I'm gay, and I'd come out from that, in that world. And at the time, I was kind of training to be a preacher. It's a whole thing. I was going to be a missionary to Uganda, East Africa, and go help start orphanages there. And I was actually engaged to marry a girl for a time, and that thankfully fell through, because I would be in Uganda right now, very unhappy, and I'm sure living a quarter of who I really am. But I left all that at 23, and I would say there was 2 years of my life where faith words were not helpful to me at all. And actually, because they'd been used to wound me, because all my friends and family had pretty much left when I came out, it was going to be a long time before they could heal me again, or even that I could look at those words with any sort of grace or gentleness. My immediate reaction was like trigger, like seeing red. And of course, people now, I'm sure most people listening, when they hear faith, they see red, and I understand that. It's understandable. And that's why I feel like, I traveled to, this is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but I traveled to all sorts of churches, and I feel like something that's still big is like verbal evangelicalism.
Yeah, just a note I would say is that you do tour the country. You tour more than the majority of people we have on this show, and you play a lot of church settings.
Yeah. And although I will say in August, I'm playing 2 churches bookending a tour, and then in the middle of the tour, I'm playing a week-long gay naturists event, which is 700 naked guys, and then I'm playing, and I was invited, and I was like, oh yes, I will be playing that.
But I think that's an important note to make, that you do play these places a lot. So you were saying something about...
Oh, so I was just mentioning, I feel like a lot of people, when they're in that mode, like I was in, like many people are in that deconstructionist mode, it's very hard for them to experience faith words, all the labels for love. that people in faith, any faith, come comfortable with. And I go to some churches now, and it's all over their walls, it's all over the signs they do, and you go to a Sunday morning service, and it's just 1,000 saying Jesus 1,000 times. And if Jesus would come into a church and experience that, it would make him sick.
Embarrassed.
Because he gave us an idea of how to live life. We weren't supposed to sit around and just stare at the quarterback. We were supposed to take the ball and run down the field. And so I feel like right now in this point in time, what you're supposed to do is just love people and affirm goodness when you see it. And that if we really believe in something that's the biggest thing in the world, if our faith is about the ocean, then we can believe that all good rivers will lead us there. But yeah, so faith's been a big thing, and at the same time, it's something that I'm really on purpose. I make it an undercurrent of how I live, and I feel and empathize for people that are experiencing woundedness because of faith. And so what I do is I love first, and I never try to proselytize. And once again, I really feel like verbal evangelicalism has had its day. And now it's time for us to just love people.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to say about his commentary on if Jesus were to walk into any of those churches, what he would think of that?
Oh, he might be embarrassed. Oh my gosh, please! It's not about me necessarily. It's about the words, and it's about the actions.
Yeah, Jesus even did a metaphor where he said, it's so funny. I've been thinking about this for 2 weeks, and it's just struck me as so funny. So Jesus did a metaphor when he was talking about what he wanted to happen in the world. And he was like, I'm the vine, you're the branches, and you'll go and bear fruit. And then later on, it's the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace. So that's what people are supposed to know Christians by, or people that are Jesus followers by, is love, joy, peace. And instead, what a lot of Christians have done is just sat and try to hit people over the head with the vine. And that's not what a branch's job is. If we're the branches, if that's the metaphor that Jesus did, then what Jesus wanted in the world was love, joy, and peace. That was his goal. Not to start another religion. In fact, he really did not like religion very much.
Actually, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only time he got mad, was in a temple.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, yeah. So I'm just trying to love people, man. I'm just trying to sing good songs and talk about, and not just the love, but the pain of life. And that's another thing too. I think churches can sometimes lose the honest experience of the darker parts of life, and I try to get there in my songs. And I'm a hopeful realist, so I'm optimistic, but I do want to face the darkness head on with the kind of songs I write.
So I have to say that I find the emphasis on the sexuality to be very inspiring, because it's something that anybody who goes through it, as a queer person myself, you can feel like you're walking alone a lot of the time. And
Absolutely.
When I read your press, I've wondered, because everybody always makes a big deal about your sexuality. Is that something that you ever get tired of, or do you feel like it's part of the mission?
I feel like it's part of the mission to help gay people feel less alone all around the country. And I also feel on the same side, when I go and play at a Pride festival, I'm excited because I'm usually the only acoustic guitarist. And I do know that there's a lot of gay people that go to a gay Pride festival and feel alone. Because there's a whole very large gay culture, which is wonderful if you fit in that culture of loud bass dance music, of, really funny campiness and all this stuff that should be celebrated. But there's a lot of guys that just go home and listen to Bob Dylan, and truly, that are gay. And those people need to have a place in those kinds of festivals. So I'm both trying to help the gay people feel less alone and also allow them to broaden their culture a little bit. I feel like when I play, Pride festivals and things like that. You
talk a lot about your personal experiences, be them faith, be them sexuality, etc. Yeah. And I'm curious, because coming out and being gay is something that is in a lot of your, or at least a theme in a lot of your songs. Is it something that you got more comfortable with as time went on? Or when you had that experience coming out, you were like, you know what, this is me, and I'm going to show it to everybody. What I'm saying is, was it more of a phase in over time, or was it something you were comfortable running with from the beginning? That's a great question. Yeah. So I think I was comfortable. Here's how I would put it. I ran with it at the beginning, comfortable or not.
So I had my whole world collapse around me when I realized, because I'd grown up in church. So all my beliefs, not just about God, but about everything, were wrapped in those four walls. So when that turned out to not be true, then for me, then it was like I didn't know what to believe about anything. And I had just started getting back to my guitar. And writing songs was a way of discovering whether or not something was true. And so I dove straight deep into my personal experiences, and I would write songs about them, and I would ask myself, from the view of a poet, is that true? Does that feel true? And if it was, then it was like a little block that I could start building my beliefs about life in. But I used every personal experience. So when it comes to coming out, when it comes to kind of some experiences I had in the really tricky coming out process of like being engaged to this girl to go to Uganda, East Africa, and all this stuff, I wrote about that. I wrote about like being afraid to die now that I'd lost my faith, and finding some strange comfort at the bottom of it, though, that helped me find my faith again. I mean, songs were a way to literally, they were my therapy. They were my therapist. And so when I would write things, I would be very honest. My songs were, they were journals. And so I didn't run away from it. But I would say as I got a little more comfortable, I was really lucky 6 months after to meet John, who I was partnered with for over 7 years, who's a wonderful human being. And so as I got more comfortable with myself, I think I just started writing love songs to him, and it just naturally transitioned into that, you know.
Obviously, the upbringing is a huge part. It shaped the person you became.
Yeah.
What did that do to your? I mean, you've described it a little bit, but to your self-image, because you basically were taught this is the way to be. And you, in your heart, at a certain point, were like, but this is not how I am. Yeah. So I'm just curious, because obviously, without that upbringing, you wouldn't be the person you are. Everything you've talked about so far has been influenced by that. What did you learn about yourself as you did the work to undo the damaging stuff?
Oh, man. What did I learn about myself?
Because that's tricky. I mean, that's like, I know this is a tough thing, and we'll talk about it later, but I know that you had, you guys lost your house in the fire.
Yeah.
To me, it's a very similar thing, but in your personal life, basically everything that you knew kind of burned down, and you had to sift through that convulsive, ugly process to try to find out what was still good.
Yes.
That's messy.
It's messy, and you're right that it something similar had happened when I was 23, and then happened when the fire happened. And
I'm sorry to use that example, but it just feels like everything in your life changed in a violent and convulsive way when you left that place you grew up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think what I found about myself was that I have a tendency to automatically start looking for the good, and I'm not sure where it came from, but I do know that I've always had this very stubbornly optimistic piece of myself. And, you know, John and I broke up the day before the fire.
Context to people listening, we are in Northern California.
Yeah.
There was a tremendous fire in the North Bay where we live. In October of last year, destroyed thousands of homes. Just a destruction that the people who live here, ourselves included, will never forget. I know dozens of people that have lost homes. Bobby Jo Valentine is one of those people.
Sonoma County is going to be digging out for years on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, it did feel like everything, but I was helped by the fact that I'd gone through an experience like that when I was 23. And so this is just a picture of like my stubbornly optimistic heart. So what happened is we were in Kansas City when the fire hit. And the first thing I thought was, well, this isn't the first time you've had to start over with just you and a guitar. And now you have a car. And so this is just how my mind works. It's just like, we're going to be okay. We're going to work through it. We're going to figure it out. And that has probably helped me a lot because it keeps my forward momentum going. So the positive side of that is when I'm going through suffering, I can roll with the punches really well. The negative side of that is sometimes I can roll too quickly. And so I've learned, that song Slow Down, Feel It that I sang tonight. I've really learned that there are times in life where you don't roll and you stay and you let the hurt kind of be inside you for a little while, and then you figure out what to do after that.
You'll be performing 6 songs tonight. We added a bonus.
Yes, yeah.
And there's a wonderful...
The secret track.
The secret track.
Ukulele. There's a wonderful backstory.
I love how you love pronouncing it right.
It's, back on the islands.
Back on the islands,
There is a song featuring an ukulele. But there's wonderful backstories to all of them, very thoughtful. And that's why someone like you is such a thrill to have on this show, because we love to learn about like the influences and the experiences went into them. I'd love it if you could tell us a little bit about them. One of them is called I Am a Haunted House.
Yeah, I love that tune.
You are in a haunted theater singing a song, I Am a Haunted House.
I just heard tonight that this theater was haunted. I don't know. I might have... I might have been looking around for flickering lights, but so the story of that song is I wrote that song after seeing a really creepy house, and my partner and I, he had an idea that we wanted to get a big house and run it like a wedding venue / bed and breakfast. Yeah. And the only places we could find were in the middle of nowhere, USA. And they were also the creepiest houses I'd ever seen in my entire life. So the first house we looked at, we rented a car in New Orleans, Louisiana, flew into New Orleans, and then we drove 3 hours deep into Mississippi to check out this house, So gay couple, new start, Mississippi is what we thought. And so thankfully we did not get the house, but there was all this sordid past the realtor didn't mind telling us, and it was just like, But anyway, something about that house got me thinking about haunted houses, and I think they're one of the best metaphors, actually, for who we are as people. And I think we have a lot of ghosts of past relationships and memories that are rattling around inside us. And the real thing in my life, I know, that is, if we don't watch out, then those ghosts will make all of our decisions for us. And I've had a lot of moments in my life where I've had to look at a decision in my life and ask if it's my past or my present that's making this decision. And so we have all these things informing us and saying things that might not be true. And so I wrote a song about kind of that idea of those ghosts living inside us.
We've kind of talked a lot about this already, but I'm sure that there's another spin on it. Another song you played tonight is called Trading In. Important to note, it won Song of the Year at West Coast Songwriter Association. Yeah. Credit where credit is due.
Thanks.
Any background you want to give us on that song?
Oh, yeah. Well, I wrote that song because my spirituality is a constantly expanding thing. And when I say spirituality, I just mean like the construction of my interior life, how I figure out my interior life so I can move through the day with some sensibility and figure this stuff out. And it's constantly changing, and I think that's the best quality of it right now, is that I'm not afraid to trade something in that I've carried for a while for something that works. And I feel like the older that we get, the more we can just keep something, a belief we have, just because it's familiar. Whether it's about people or prejudices or how we go about our life, we can keep that only because it's familiar. And there's a fear of letting it go. But what I found is that other than like the air that you breathe and the skin that you live in, everything else is exchangeable in your life. And so a lot of spiritual integrity of moving through life is letting go. When something doesn't work, having the integrity to be humble enough to let that go. And then you can switch it out for something that actually does. And so that was my experience when I had the fire. Our instinct when something burns down is to replace with the exact replica of what we had before, even if it didn't serve us. And I had this lucky moment in my life where I was able to take a little pause and ask myself, every single thing that burned down, ask myself if I actually needed that thing. And it allowed me to totally shift the material possessions I had, what I wanted to invest money in, whether it was causes or life stuff. And it just completely shifted my perspective, that willingness to hold the space and not try to replace it immediately, and instead see if there was something I couldn't trade it in for. And so that song really kind of came out of that, and that one means a lot to me. That's probably one of the most meaningful songs I've written so far in my life.
You play another song tonight that won the same award, the West Coast
Only way back
Songwriter
when.
Association, back in 2011. So you played a deep cut here for us tonight. But yeah, you know, this is good. This is a career-spanning set. The song is called Fly. Mm-hmm. And you say it's a good peek into your worldview. And if you could explain to us how that is, that would be really cool.
Yeah, well, I think that most people, I mean, Tom, you talked about how you're a man of faith, and I feel like most people come to any sort of spiritual awareness through experience. And so this boy in this story has everything bad going on. There is not one good thing in his waking life. And then he has this experience when he goes to bed that he can fly. And he has it every dream. And it's just this little piece of hope that gives him the faith he needs to get through the day. And for me, that's been I do have a stubbornly optimistic heart, but the reason I have it is because I've had experiences where I've lost everything and there was still the love of people around me to lift me up. And I feel like that piece of it, that experience being a doorway to hope, is really important for people to know, because a lot of people can have the worst experience in their life and they can come out so much better for it. And then we all know people that have had experiences that are terrible and don't come out of it. And usually the distance between the two is just believing that there's some hope at the end of the tunnel. And so, you know, I figure if I write the story about this little boy, then it's funny, people have come up to me after that have been in a dark place in their life after a show, and they've come up to me in tears and they say, I had dreams of flying when I was a kid. And they're not telling me that they had dreams of flying. What they're telling me is, I'm in a dark place right now, but maybe those dreams of flying meant something. Yeah. Because it meant something to that little boy.
The other song you played, non-ukulele, was Maybe Stars. And
yeah,
there is a lot going on underneath the surface of this song. So I would love it if you could share us anything about that.
Oh, man. Well, you intro that, Tom, because he said that was his favorite of the songs that
I just like the tune a lot. It is another tune of hope, but it's a tune of kind of losing touch of magic, I think, to me, and actually, but the magic is always there, and it surrounds you. It's in the sky above you, but it's in the stars, but it is all around you if you just open up your eyes and look around, and maybe stars will help you see that.
There's a great song by Cloud Cult. I don't remember the name of it, but there's a lyric that says, if I ever lose sight of the magic around me, please take my hands off my eyes.
Yeah.
And I love that shit, because that's all that Maybe Stars is. It's just like, yeah, this is a rough life. And I understand that you are in a position in your life that you're talking to the character I'm talking to in the song, that you're too old to believe in fairy tales. Meaning that you know, this Peter Pan shit, we're done with that. And then it's just like, but it's pretty crazy that we're on a planet and you look up and there's hundreds of stars and we don't know a thing about most of them.
Well, every one of those stars, most of those stars are suns.
Yeah.
And around every sun, probably several planets. And oh my gosh.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The possibilities. And that's what stars are to me. Stars are about possibilities. Yeah. And there's a constellation, Orion the Hunter.
Yeah.
And it's such a centering thing for me. I get out of my car every night, and before I go home or at a hotel or anywhere in the country, to be able to look up and see Orion the Hunter.
We get Orion.
There's something about that.
It's three quarters of the year in the northern hemisphere. Yeah. He is one of our major constellations.
And even the last line of it, you know, that I've kind of modified since performing it, but it's like, there's one line that just says, I know you're too old to believe in fairy tales, but maybe stars.
Yeah.
And so it's like, even if all you want to believe in is what you can physically see, it's still spectacular. It doesn't, you can take all the invisible out if you want. If you want to limit yourself that way, you can. Still spectacular. Still worth waking up in the morning to see. You know, like that's what that song is about. And I have some of my best friends are atheists or agnostics, and they are people that I love so dearly. And so I just wrote a song of like, what's a song of hope we can all agree on, and let's talk about that.
It's a cynical time. There's a lot of dour feelings, and you really have a tough time in life. One really has a tough time in life telling someone, hey, it's going to be fine. That usually doesn't convince them. But Maybe Stars is just a really beautiful, simple message. It's like, look, I'm not going to convince you of anything, but if you look up, that's pretty magnificent, is it not? Well, maybe that can be like the start of the ball rolling into being a little more positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say one more thing, and it's just that I'm writing a song right now, and the main line of it, and this is what another thing I believe about other people, is just that the thing about a heart is it opens from the inside. And I feel like that Maybe Stars is this gentle opening that invites people into it. And you're right. Instead of just, it's all puppies and unicorns and good, it's like, no, it's difficult. But there's this gentle way to invite people into a better way of thinking about the world. And that's, on my best days, I get there, and then on my worst days, I forget. So these days, I just try to have better days than others. And this has been a great day. And thank you guys so much for,
thanks for coming.
Capping off a wonderful day. This is really wonderful.
The blessing about being a musician is albums are like chapter points. You know, you can look back and you can look at the albums you've made, and this was a difficult period that this album was made in, you know? And I just think it's so generous and honest that you have shared this not only in the music but in the conversation with us here tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
And you know, I really appreciate it, because the best episodes of this show are when people are vulnerable and people are truthful, and you've done that here tonight, and it's been an absolute pleasure to sit here and chat with you.
I love getting to know y'all. I mean, I've seen Tom every now and then with Phoenix, and I've never met you, and you guys are lovely people. So thanks for doing this podcast. It's great.
It has been a pleasure, and now the listeners are primed and ready to experience the music of this man. The music of Bobby Jo Valentine, after a brief little interlude, is up next. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
One, two, three. I'm trading deadlines for a softer ceiling. I'm trading lonely for a truer feeling. I'm trading easy for a harder healing, but one that leaves me whole. I'm trading running for a hand beside me. Trading my shadows for a light that won't hide me. I'm trading money for the love it can't buy me, and a little less control. And we pick up so much when we're living that we should never hold. We carry so much that we shouldn't own. But all that I need is what I've been given, right inside this skin. Everything else that doesn't treat me well, I'm trading in. I'm trading in. trading safety, the world has sold me for something wilder and real and holy, for what the ghost of my father told me, that you're already home. Anywhere you go. And we pick up so much when we're living that we should never own. We carry so much that we shouldn't hold. All that I need I've already been given, right inside this skin. Everything else that doesn't treat me well, I'm trading in. I'm trading in. I'm trading deadlines for a softer ceiling. Trading my lonely for a truer feeling. I'm trading easy for a harder healing, but one that leaves me whole. I'm a haunted house, and it's 3:15, and there are flashes of blue light as my love alive fights with the pain in me. I am a haunted house, and there are eyes behind my doors. You're gonna have to walk about if you wanna figure out what the fear is really for. See the markings on the cedars, read the writing on the wall. There's someone in the window, there's no one there at all. I am a haunted house, and there are spirits in these posts. And if you want to come near, you're going to have to clear with the ghosts. You're going to have to clear with the ghosts. I am a haunted house, and there are shadows in my scenes. I feel the sharp teeth of dark memories trying to feast upon my dreams. And there's a picture on the shelf, it's of a boy who's nearly 10, and behind him's just a warm red glow as somebody shut off band. Oh, see the markings on the cedars, read the writing on the wall. There's someone in the window, there is no one there at all. I am a haunted house, and there's spirits in these posts. And if you want to come near, you're gonna have to clear with the ghosts. You're gonna have to clear with the ghosts. See the markings on the cedars, read the writing on the wall. And the specters in the mirror, they don't look like me at all. So I burn the candle slowly, 'cause there isn't much light left. And what's dancing in the darkness has my defeat upon its breath. Oh, see the markings on the cedars, read the writing on the wall. There's someone in the window, there is no one there at all. I am a haunted house, and there's spirits in these posts. And if you want to come near, you're gonna have to clear with the ghosts. You're gonna have to clear with the ghosts. Ooh. Tony the Tiger doesn't live here anymore. He turned tail, left town, trying to settle some score. He got a one-way ticket and a traveling case. He doesn't do anything halfway. Some say the circus wasn't paying enough. Some say the money was so good he started feeling out of touch. Some say his love started to feel like a crutch, so Tony had to find his own way. From plane to train, from town to town, he picked up almost as soon as he touched down. A voice playing in the back of his mind he tried to ignore kept popping up from time to time. Slow down, feel it. Unless you let it hurt, you're never gonna heal it. Slow down, slow down, slow down, feel it. So I wake up and take my things off the floor. Hope I can figure out what all this leaving is for. I hope the bridges I burn I can return to someday, but I don't do anything halfway. From plane to train, from town to town, I pick up almost as soon as I touch down. A voice playing in the back of my mind I've tried to ignore keeps popping up from time to time. Slow down, feel it. Unless you let it hurt, you're never gonna heal it. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, feel it. Unless you let it hurt, you're never gonna heal it. Slow down, slow down, slow down, feel it. So I stop by and lay some roses on the door. No flowers ever will settle this score. I got a one-way ticket and a traveling case. I gotta find my own way. Drive past the city till everything glistens. Pull over, stop, and finally start to listen. My ground of being, my significant other, rises up inside me, both father and mother, and says, slow down, feel it. Unless you let it hurt, you're never gonna heal it. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, feel it. Unless you let it hurt, you're never gonna heal it. Slow down, slow down, slow down, feel it. This is my room, and it's robin's egg blue, and it's got a few cracks in the ceiling. This is my street where the Minutemen meet, and Dad says that I'll never be leaving. I'm 10 years old, but I know how to smoke, and the drinks help to cure the bad feelings. This is my home, and the sticks and the stones are made up of the darkest of things. But in my dreams I can fly and I soar, and my feet touch the sky, and it seems I can go anywhere if I try, and the world's not so dark when the clouds make it white. If there's no hope, tell me why. In my dreams I can fly. Here come the tears and I cover my ears, and I swear I can hear my own heart beat. When they stop fighting to turn out the lights, I pretend that I'm already sleeping. After the violence, alone in the silence, just me and the secret I'm keeping. My dad tells me I'm not worth anything, and I've almost admitted defeat. But in my dreams I can fly and I soar, and my feet touch the sky, and it seems I can go anywhere if I try, and the world's not so dark when the clouds make it white. If there's no hope, tell me why. In my dreams I can fly. In my dreams I can fly. This is my room and it's robin's egg blue, and it's got a few cracks in the ceiling. This is my home and the sticks and the stones are made up of the darkest of things. After the violence, alone in the silence, just me and the secret I'm keeping. My dad tells me I'm not worth anything, and I've almost admitted it, but in my dreams I can fly and I soar, and my feet touch the sky, and it seems I can go anywhere if I try, and the world's not so dark when the clouds make it white. If there's no hope, tell me why. In my dreams I can fly, and my feet touch the sky, and it seems I can go anywhere if I try, and the world's not so dark when the clouds make it white. If there's no hope, tell me why. In my dreams I can fly. If there's no hope, tell me why. In my dreams I can fly. If there's no hope, tell me why. In my dreams I can fly. I know you're too old to believe in fairy tales. You've made mistakes, you've had tough breaks, and most your plans have failed. I know that faith is just as strong as what it's in, and you tried God and that was not what you expected, and so you gave it up and left it all behind. But maybe stars will change your mind. Maybe stars will change your mind. I know control is something that's hard to give up. People are fools and can be cruel, and most are hard to trust. I know that you have had your full of phony stuff, and you have spent up every cent and still feel out of love. So you decided truth was hard to find, but maybe stars will change your mind. Maybe stars will change your mind. So come take a walk with me across the galaxy. Maybe there's more than meets the eye. 10 million miles away into the mystery. Maybe there's hope for you and I. Maybe there's wonder there that everybody shares. If you think the universe is blind, maybe stars will change your mind. Maybe stars will change your mind. I know you're too old to believe in fairy tales, but maybe stars. I know you're too old to believe in fairy tales, but maybe stars will change your mind. Oh, my fearful heart, they say it's safe here, but it gets so hard sometimes. I need a brand new start. I've passed these city streets beyond their borderlines, and I fought my demons down. And when they finally fell, oh, what a graceful sound. You saw me through the crowd. You came and found me, and you wrapped around me, and oh, my love, carry me away, carry me away. I want something, and oh, my love, carry me away, carry me away. I want something more. Oh, my unclean hands, where have you been? At least tell me these wounds are mine. I need a brand new plan, one where before I leap, at least I look inside. And I tried to fill my cup with such ambition that it almost drank me. But it all comes down to love. How it came and found me, and it wrapped around me, and oh, my love, carry me away. I've seen this all before, and oh, my love, carry me away, carry me away. I want something more. Oh, my fearful heart, I need a brand new start. And I fought my demons down, I fought my demons, and when they finally fell, oh, what a graceful sound. You saw me through the crowd. You came and found me, and you wrapped around me, and oh, my love, carry me away, carry me away. I want something, and oh, my love, carry me away, carry me away. I want something more.